Welcome to another episode of On the Go with BCSO, our podcast we do here in studio at the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. I got Jay Martinez with me. Jay, this is going to be a good show. A lot of people don't know about what we're about to roll out here.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
As you know, on our podcast, we try and give you some strong insight into everything that the members of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office are doing to not only save our taxpayers money, but certainly to focus on protecting them and doing everything else we can. So today, I'm excited. We got in studio. Pam Rogers is with us. She is a corrections tech out at the Brevard County Jail. And Pam, how long have you been at the Sheriff's Office?
Almost 13 years.
13 years. Mm-hmm. And so you have a very unique position out there. Mm-hmm. And when I first started here at the Sheriff's Office and they told me that we have a sewing unit out at the jail, I was like, well, what do they do? But it's amazing what your team does out there. So tell us a little bit about the sewing unit at the Brevard County Jail.
Well, we started in 2006. Okay. I was in on the ground floor going in. So I've built it up over the years. I've been the solo runner for it for all these years. And
so you don't have any help. It's you out there.
It's me.
See that, Jay? See how that works? Yeah.
It's me and the trustees. Right. They do wonderful work. We make all the mattresses, the sheets, every single uniform. We make the uniforms for the chain gang, the A-tippers. We make everything.
So you say you make the mattresses, the sheets, everything. So are you telling me that every basically uniform, every sheet, every mattress, everything that's in the Brevard County Jail, your team is making?
That's right.
And when you speak of this team, I mean, what are you talking about, 100 people?
No. I have 8 girls at a time. 8 girls at a time, which changes daily sometimes. Okay. They come in. Some of them don't stay for a little while. You know, they're home in 2 weeks. Some of them stay for 2 months. Okay. So it's constantly training new people every day. I
was going to say, so and the technology changes. Mm-hmm. We use industrial sewing machines out there. And one of the benefits to that is we're able to pay for it with inmate welfare money because we're actually teaching the inmates a trade that they can now take and go out and again, working on that recidivism rate that we often talk about from it. So, but is there a day goes by you're not training?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, and we've got 6 different kinds of sewing machines in there, depending on what level we're working on at that point. So they start out with the simple machines, and then they work themselves up. But they are industrial machines. They are high-speed industrial machines, and they do very well. It surprises me. When I first started it, I thought this was going to be a real struggle to get them to use. There's no speed control. Mm-hmm. There's a speed control fast. Right. So they learn, and they get overwhelmed when they come in, and I say, just give me a week, and you'll know how to sew at the end of this week.
Oh, that was one of the questions. How many? And we use female inmates to do this. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we try and do is find a balance of available programs for our female inmates and our male inmates. But how many of the ladies have come in and never sewn anything in their life?
99%.
Really?
Yes. Yes. In 13 years, maybe I've had 3 or 4 people.
Could you teach Jay to sew?
I could.
Oh, that'd be great.
I could.
That would be cool.
Teach me to iron.
Yeah. No, we start them out, basically on a sheet because we make all the sheets and move them up to uniforms. There's some girls in there that can sew as well as I can sew after just being in there for 3 or 4 months.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you make all these things just out of just rolls of material.
We buy material in bulk so that we get it at low cost. Mm-hmm. And we save a lot of money by doing that. And we lift very heavy bolts up onto the table, and they do it all. They never complain, and they come out with a product that they can be proud of. Yeah. They are very proud. I've seen some girls come in there who've never had a kind word said to them their entire life, and you just say, "That's a great job," and you can see tears in their eyes. Wow. They've never been told that. Yeah. It's very gratifying for me to see that, to see them grow. And sometimes by the end of a month or so, they can do everything in there. And they just come out with pride. They get a certificate at the end that says they participated in a program there with my name and phone number on it. And I've had employers calling me and asking me about them, giving them a chance to work. So I think it's great. And I sleep well at night knowing that I've helped some people.
Man, I mean, you couldn't sleep any better. I mean, that's
Yeah.
So when these young ladies come in and you're teaching them to sew, they go back out and now they have an opportunity to work for a place, a business or something, doing some type of seamstress work or something of that nature.
Right.
And, do you have some ladies that call you and say, I got a job and
Not the ladies, but the employers' flag shops. There's a lot of little flag shops that make those decorative flags. I've had a couple of girls get to find a job in those flag shops. So upholstery shops, doing basic upholstery, dry cleaners. I've had one get a job in a dry cleaner because mostly she does hemming, which she did, in the sewing room.
Yeah.
So it's really encouraging.
You could have one of them hem one pair of my pants and they'd probably be an expert at it after that.
Well, it's a skill. It's not. You can teach any of the inmates to mop the floor or to make their beds or serve dinner or lunch, but teaching them to sew is a whole different aspect.
So, how did you first start sewing? How did that come about?
In the 80s, I worked for a fabric store for 12 years. And I had three kids.
Yeah. When were you born, Joe?
1980.
Sorry. Well, I had three kids, and that was the way I put clothes on them. We could make displays, hang up in the store, and we got them for free. So I sewed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so now here you are teaching others to the trade, and they're sewing for their families and for others.
I started out in the records department at the jail. And about a year after I was there, they were starting the sewing program. A sergeant that we had, Sergeant Cummings, started it. And she got wind that I'd worked in a fabric store. So she came and approached me, and I said, yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Most people don't realize how long that program's been around, but it started, like you said, in 2006. Sheriff Parker was the sheriff then. And I'm just curious, any idea how much money you've saved the taxpayers in that time?
Yes. Well, in that time, back that many years, I couldn't tell you. But in 2018, we saved almost $80,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a conversation not long ago where you were talking about the method of putting labels on the back of uniforms. One method is by ironing, the other one is by embroidery, and the cost difference there. Tell us a little about that.
Well, recently, about 5 years ago, we purchased an embroidery machine. And several of the other institutions in Florida have embroidery. And I had talked to them and the advantages of it. So I finally got one. I was excited. And the trustees wear uniforms that have sheriff's inmate work crew on the back of the shirts. We were buying the iron-on letters, and it was costing us about $4 for each shirt to just use the iron-on letters.
Wow.
I can embroider them on there for a nickel.
Wow.
So
and
alone.
How long does it last versus the...
Oh, yeah.
Because you would always see the names peeling off the back.
Yeah, they come off. Yeah, but yes, much more long lasting.
And we can embroider, for example, the shirt you're wearing now, everything else we can do, all of
We
that.
can.
because of
Yeah,
that. So-
we just got through with the veterans program
Yeah,
that
the
they
same-
rolled out at the
same
jail
as-
yesterday. We did those uniforms on the back of them, and got a lot of compliments.
Oh, yeah. I've got one
yesterday.
laying on my desk right now.
Yeah,
So,
that they
love
did a
it.
good job at it. But yeah, the girls do all that. They run all of that. So, we do many projects, not just sew uniforms and sew mattresses and sew sheets, but
So that's the next question I want to ask. So mattresses.
Mhm.
So how do you sew a mattress?
That's what I said when they first approached me. How do you sew a mattress?
I feel
so-
better now because I thought I was the only one that didn't know that.
No, so I had to figure it out. And you have just a basic core, which is a polyester fiber fill that's very compressed. And then you have vinyl that you cut, you make fit, stuff it, and you got a mattress. You put a pillow in it, and you've got a mattress.
So ballpark, how many mattresses do we make a year?
Oh gosh, I make on the average of, we usually make them twice a year in bulk, of probably about 1,500 mattresses a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, if we weren't doing those under your watch, we'd be having to buy them. And
We would, and the average sale on those is about, savings is about $35 a mattress we save.
good grief.
Yes.
I need another sewing unit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Uh,
It's a lot. And a lot of people, like you said, didn't even know. A lot of people that worked at the jail didn't even know we had a sewing room.
Oh yeah.
You know, where's all this stuff coming from? They didn't know.
And as if you didn't have enough, recently we even gave you more of a task because now you do all the uniforms and the chevrons and everything else
Yes.
that goes on. So, you know, Jay's longevity bars that he has, they get sewn on, and the patches, even when we get our uniforms, they don't. So you guys are doing all of that.
We do all that. Yeah, that takes up a lot of our time,
Right.
but we do it as a benefit to the people who work for the sheriff's department, because otherwise they'd have to take them and pay someone.
Yeah, well,
to do it.
The uniform, you know, to get it pressed out, you know, your stripes put on, all that stuff, and hemming. I mean, that can cost up to $40 a
Yes,
uniform.
right.
So to
Right.
have an in-house resource for that is
Yeah,
amazing.
because going back probably 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have that.
Oh no,
When I first came here, I had to take my uniforms, go down to a place in Ticeville there, get them hemmed, and get everything sewn on them and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's a game changer, especially you know for our team out there.
Yeah.
So most challenging. What's the most challenging part of what you do?
The most challenging part is, I guess, teaching the newcomers in there. Like I said, some of them pick it up right away. Others are much more challenging. And I never let them say, I can't do it.
Right.
They're not allowed to say, I can't do that. Because you can. And trust me, you will be able to do it. I've never, not one time, been able to not teach someone how to sew.
So what I'm seeing here is you're not just teaching people how to sew. You're taking these inmates and you're kind of taking them under your wing a little bit and life coaching them, if you will. And
I hope so. I hope I know, you know, I've made an impression, because the few who have come back, they want to be in the sewing room. I want to be in the sewing program. Can I get in the sewing program again? And they've enjoyed it and told everybody about it. Everybody wants to be in the sewing program.
Right.
So, yeah, it's.
You know, you said the few that have come back. In a previous episode, we talked about recidivism and how lowering the recidivism rate in a jail is paramount in lowering the crime rate in a community. And so, how many of them do you see come back? I mean, clearly there's some that come back, but
Just this last class that I had of them, I had 3 of them in there that were in my class previously. Now, some of them, it's been 10 years ago.
right.
But, yeah, I mean, probably at least 3 or 4 times a year, I have a group of them. And they seem to come in groups for some reason. If you see one, you usually see 2 or 3 of them back.
yeah.
They don't always get in the sewing room. You have to have a special classification to get in the sewing room. I mean, obviously, we use scissors and, you know, sharp
Yeah.
instruments
They
in
got
there.
this giant blade that goes across and cuts vinyl, you know,
Yes.
several inches thick, and they sling that thing across the room. And it's incredible.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
I'm just trying to figure out why you were in there so much. And
What? That's the place to be.
clearly.
yeah, it's the equipment in there. Like I said, is all industrial equipment. They use this in factories.
So what do we use? What type of machines do we use?
They're Juki industrial machines. All of them are
Okay.
Jukis,
right.
and that's what most garment factories have.
Now we're sewing uniforms, which are pretty heavy duty, mattresses, which obviously are very heavy duty. All the other things, the uniforms we wear. How often do we go through one of the machines? How often does it?
Oh, I still have all of the original machines.
Really?
Yes, and I have added 4 more to them. So yes, no, I have all. I have learned when I was a sewer, a private sewer. If my machine needed oiled, I just called my husband, come oil my machine. But I have learned to fix the machines with the minor repairs, changing the oil in them, which has to be done. You know, minor parts that break on them. So I've learned to do all that, and that therefore we've been able to keep them. So yes, all the original machines are still there. Yeah.
So if you could stop sewing anything, and I'm not saying you can because I'm not gonna. That's crazy talk. But if you could stop sewing anything, what's the most difficult to do?
Probably the officer uniforms.
Officer uniform.
Especially when they spontaneously drop in.
Yeah.
Like I say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you
Can
do
I
that
have
for me?
this afternoon?
Yeah.
I've had them do that.
I need
Yes.
it now.
Yeah.
But you get to meet all the officers and
Yeah.
stuff, you know. So you get to see everybody, and I think most people don't even know this exists at the sheriff's office. We know it because we see the value of it every day. But I think the average citizen out there doesn't even know this exists and the value of this program. You know, I mean, you're literally talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that you've saved the taxpayers in your role. You're talking about lives you've impacted and saved, and it's most people wouldn't even know how to find the place out there.
The first year that we were open, in 4 months, we already saved more than it cost to purchase all the sewing machines.
Right. And we purchased those through the inmate welfare money, which the inmate welfare money can only be used to purchase items that are going to teach a trade to the inmates or help improve their lives or better their chances on the outside from it.
Right.
And so you're getting it all done.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we try, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So every day, like I said, is a new challenge to come in there. I never know what I'm going to walk into.
do you know who you're going to have? I mean, is like once they're sentenced, is there a pretty consistent?
They don't have to be
Crew.
sentenced to be in my class.
Yeah, because it's enclosed.
It's on the grounds, so it can change overnight. You know, things happen overnight when they're in the jail. So I never know when I come in the morning who I have left. But for the most part, you know, I try to keep them, you know, as long as they're there.
Right.
The longer they're in the sewing room, the more they learn and the more they know how to do.
Right.
So,
What time do you start in the morning?
well, I get there at 6 o'clock. Usually about 7 o'clock. I do all my
I
other
just
work.
need to say that's 6 o'clock a.m.
Hey, you're there at 6 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sharp.
Yeah.
it's Probably.
So,
Have you even got up at 6 a.m.?
I don't even know what the world looks like at 6 a.m.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to get them back before they have dinner in the afternoons because they eat dinner like at 3:30.
Right.
So they have to start their day early so we can get in our 8 hours of work so they can get back for their dinner.
And if you're sick, if you're on vacation,
it just doesn't open.
It doesn't operate. So you're not allowed to take sick leave.
No.
You're not allowed to take vacation.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Yeah, you need an apprentice.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they tried that. They tried putting somebody in there with me, but it's not something you can just
No,
learn
you can't,
overnight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Either-
You
either
had that
you-
previous experience.
You do.
Yeah, it's an institutional knowledge that
Yeah.
you possess and
That's
stuff.
cool.
And that's why when you told me you're going to stay another 30 years, I was so excited and stuff. So, yeah. She's staying the whole time.
Yeah. Well, who knows? But you know, I do love it. I mean,
Yeah,
I love the
I mean,
work.
that's a great feeling too.
It is.
When you get up every day and you go do something you love, you're not really going to work.
Right.
And you know, like I said, I'm sitting here, I'm learning something, you know, of all the stuff you do and how you do it. But the biggest walk away for me from this show is how much you love doing what you're doing and how much you're helping those that are there mentoring from you.
Yes.
And I know you won't, but don't ever lose sight of that because you're making a difference in a lot of people's lives, not just those that you're coaching, but in those
I
that
hope so.
you're helping along the way. So,
Yeah.
and you get to talk to Jay all the
I
time.
know. Sometimes he brings me donuts.
Jay, I don't even know why I have him on. He's just so. Well, thank you for being with us today, and
Thank you
most
for having
importantly,
me.
thank you for all you do for us. I'm very well aware that if you're not there, it's not operating, and I greatly appreciate your dedication to
Thank
it
you.
and all you do. So we also appreciate you guys checking in with us at On the Go with BCSO here, and we'll talk to you in the next episode.